Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to share my experience with you all. Most of the time, when I was a student, when I joined English literature, and I joined the Department of English at Ethraj College as a faculty member, uh, ELT, it's um, a neglected area, I shall say. Most of them, if it is branched well, English literature, most of them focus on English literature. I wanted to choose something different, something different, and that should attract our branched well English literature students towards that area within that, what shall I say, within that branch itself. So that time when I decided to get into English language teaching, I started to explore experts in that area of study. So that time I found few professors alone in that area. And in my department too, they just demotivated me that they always say, grinding the same batter. That's what they say. So I was a little hesitant and I started exploring on finding a right person to guide me towards English language teaching. At that point of time, I found Professor Ilango at Lala College, and he was that time a senior professor in that subject. It took nearly 1 year for me to decide on that and join under Dr. Professor Ilango to work on English language teaching. And I approached him to work on English language teaching. I was vague. So when I approached him, I just asked him, what shall I do? So he asked me to think what you want to do in English language teaching. How many of you could respond what it is? What is English language teaching to you? Don't look into Google to get the definition. What is it to you? Just alphabets? Language. English language teaching. So, as a teacher, if I ask you to teach English to a primary level, how would you begin? If you're English graduates, if you're studying there, most sought after for tuitions, right? So, how would you begin? Any response from online? Come on, just any guess. How would you begin? When I ask you to teach English, how would you begin? With nursery rhymes. That's your definition. Then, your good name, please, now? Almunira. Yeah. Next, any other guesses? Good. Providing meaningful exposure to English. When it is language, we use different methodologies to reach out to our learners. English language teaching is that. We always connect English language with our personality. When I ask you to learn some other language, whether even any other foreign language or any other regional language, we just learn just like any other activity, any other skill. When it comes to English, all of us are we have that fear. We have that. We are scared to learn that. We are scared to touch upon that. When we make mistake, when we learn regional language, when we make mistake, we just ignore and we focus only on that learning part. Whereas when it comes to English, we immediately associate that with our personality. We feel we have some complex to open up. When we make mistake too, we never move on to the other level at all. So that's the condition of our learners in India. So for such learners, how are we going to provide a platform to learn English in a better way? Without any fear, without anything. It should get into our system. For that, researchers in English language teaching like this, that would really help. So when I explored for my research in ELT, I found one or two professors alone in university. The same here too in University of Kerala. When we look out for research experts in that area, it's a field, it's a different field, but that would really give a very good platform for all English language learners to learn English freely. So this is what shall I say, service you could provide to your English language learners. So when I examined, when as a scholar in Kerala at the school level itself, they started phonetics. One of my friends, friends, same my contemporary, I shall say, from the engineering college here, he learned phonetics at the school level, primary level. So you've got that opportunity. You have been exposed to sounds of language. When we begin any language, when you master the sounds, you can master anything there. You can pronounce it correctly, and we have our regional accents too. At the same time, when you approach it phonetically with IPA chart or something, certainly you can master that. With that note, I'll just move on to research in ELT. When it's research, there are first describe. We have to describe the subject and stages of English language teaching. First, we have to choose what are we going to do. When it is English language teaching, you have to decide whether it is quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative, I'll just go on. When I move on to different steps, I'll tell you what you mean by quantitative and what we mean by qualitative. And there are methods of investigation too. There are different methods of investigation in applied linguistics. Have you heard linguistics? What is it? Linguistics? Scientific study of language. So it's just like that, scientific study. Once you pick up a topic, a method or approach or anything, once you pick up that topic, you have to focus on that. You have to decide whether it is quantitative or qualitative study, and then you have to apply different approaches and theories to fit into your area of research, and then how that can be used in English language teaching. That's why I
And people
asked this
feel that this
question
is one area where
first. First, what it is for you to teach English. When it is English language teaching, how would you begin as a teacher? And then your objective should be focused on teaching and how you're going to impart it effectively to your target audience. Who's your target audience? Your learners. So whatever topic you choose, it should be centered around English language teaching. How you are going to teach English language as a teacher. So there are different methods available, approaches available, and then different techniques available. What technique you are going to use, what method you are going to use, what theory you are going to use to support your argument. So objective, most of our objective when it comes to foundation English is to integrate the basic skills, and you should you should make ensure that your learner should return that effectively. They should grasp that, and they have to use it properly. So there are four basic skills. All of you are aware of that. What are that? Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So your objective should be centered around that. So whatever method you are taking, whatever activity based, sometimes there are activity based teaching, and there are, but End of the day, we have a syllabus to cover. You have to focus on the syllabus. Most of us are autonomous colleges, so we can frame our syllabuses, or you can discuss with syllabus experts and bring in the better syllabus, which could help your learners to integrate in a better way to use the language in a perfect manner. So that should be your objective. So you have the description is to use how you are going to do that research, how you are going to collect data, how you are going to analyze data, and how you are going to report the results effectively to come out with the good finding. So our learning approach, it should be blended. First one, face-to-face learning environment. So it should be blended. Second one, computer mediated learning environment. And we have the best example. There are so many online too to listen to this. And then the other face-to-face. So we just blended both. And blended learning environment, we have to produce that. We should have that infrastructure to give that comfort, and we have to focus on that. Whatever topic you choose, first you have to analyze face-to-face environment, how effective it is. Before you begin your research, you have to begin with a hypothesis. What do you mean by hypothesis? Have you ever come across this term called hypothesis? What is it? Hypothesis? We always say it's a hypothetical question. What is it? Tentative argument? No. It's a statement which will lead to a debatable one, whether to prove, disprove, or sometimes it will be null. Later on, I'll come back to you what is provable and what we mean by disprove, what is null hypothesis. So there are three types. When you frame hypothesis, you have to frame one or two hypotheses alone. You should not come up with 5 or 10 hypotheses. If you come up with one or two, it should be effective and you can prove it, or you can disprove that, or that will become null too. Sometimes when you analyze the data, when you collect and analyze the data, it will become null. So there are this model called BL model. It's a rotation model, face-to-face discussion, and online activities too. So in a semester, you can work on that. You can analyze that. You can choose that area of research, and you can go to some colleges, and then you can work on that. So that is called as based on the learning modalities. You can work on that collaborative activities. So you have to come up with a proposal, project proposal. First, whatever project you do, you have to come up with a proposal. When you propose it, how would you begin your proposal? If it is English language teaching, there are innumerable topics available. So what's your area? What are you going to focus on? Whether you're going to focus on methods or methodologies or testing. There are different types. So you can focus on methods of teaching English language. Materials, even you can focus on materials to materials of teaching English. And what are the techniques? Even you can focus on the techniques. Sometimes they focus on activity-based learning, and you can focus on syllabus. Syllabus, that is a very interesting topic. It's a vast one. At the same time, when you work on the syllabus, what kind of syllabus you can provide for technical education? What kind of syllabus you can provide for foundation English courses? What kind of a syllabus you can provide for any other skill-based courses? So there you have opportunity to bring in more learners other than English majors. We are not going to focus only on English major students. They read literature. Their branch will be linguistics or something. So when you focus on foundation English, skill-based learning, then you have more opportunity to analyze that and then focus on the other area. So this is your research format. First, you have to begin with the title page, then abstract, your body of whatever you are going to do that, your references and appendices. After that, under body, you have four different one: introduction, what method you are going to use, result analysis, you finish with discussion and conclusion. Under method, you can branch off to analysis part. So that comes under participants. You have to focus on the sampling you are going to use, what are the material you are going to use, and what are the procedure you are going to follow, analysis. So the typical research proposal itself, you should have all these details. It encompasses the title page, abstract, body, notes, references, and appendices. And then under the body, you have four different one. You have to provide all the details. Under method, you have to provide the details provided here. First one, introduction. Then all of us, most of the research supervisors go for 5 chapters alone. You should not move beyond 5 chapters. Within that 5 chapters, you can bring in your focus into your area of study. Introduction, all of us, we begin with English language teaching in India, how it is in Indian setup. But to our surprise, we have no other Indian theories cater to the requirements of Indian learners at all. We always go with other theories, Western theories, for any other area of study to support our idea, to support our teaching learning environment in India. So always my supervisor, my professor used to tell, frame Indian theories to support our Indian learners. So when you take up your research in English language teaching, keep that in mind. Try to frame some theories that would be suitable for our Indian learners. Next one, methodology. What method you are going to use to analyze your research area. And chapter 4, you have to provide the data collection and the analysis on how you are going to analyze, whether it is statistical or empirical research. There are different ethnographic research. There are different types of research available for English language teaching. Case study method. We have case study method, ethnographic study, and then other studies which we could go by pie charts and other statistical information. Most of the researchers, when we analyze, we just analyze and present that as a statistical investigator report. And finally, chapter 5, you have to share your findings. What are all your findings? And based on your findings, what are your recommendations for learners of English? And then it should have some meaningful findings, meaningful results that could be executed at the teaching level, any level, primary level, secondary level, or tertiary level. And recommendation, you have to finally finish with the recommendation, and after that you can provide scope of research in the same area wherever you left something. It will not be incomplete, but at the same time, if you focus on the other part of it, you'll get more inputs into that. So you can start with that too. So already I made a mention, hypothesis. Hypothesis, it's just a type of prediction. It should be like prediction. You can prove or disprove that. And you can find that in many other experimental studies. When you read, so when you decide to work on English language teaching, first you have to read. You have to read a lot. First, you have to
Trilo?
read
Ah, di kami
experimental
ni Trilo.
studies
Asya.
on the particular English language. Then after that, it's a statement about the future. What we expect within a study. There are two types of hypothesis. One is null hypothesis, another one is research hypothesis. Already I made a mention of null hypothesis. Next one is the research hypothesis.
പിന്നീട് മാറ്റിയാൽ മതിയോ ഇപ്പൊ സീറോ
Null
കൊടുത്തിട്ട്
hypothesis.
ഇത്രയുള്ള
There is no relationship. When you choose some hypothesis, if there are any other no relationship with the hypothesis you already proposed, then that's called as null hypothesis. No relationship between the area of study at all. If there are no effects, if there are no effects from the samples you choose. So there will be no difference between the performance of a group or any other two groups. Just an example. So hypothesis is sometimes it will be non-directional or two-way hypothesis. There are two-way hypotheses. Under hypothesis itself, there are different things, and I talked about null hypothesis, non-directional or two-way hypothesis, directional or one-way hypothesis too we have. So one-way hypothesis, it will perform better, and there will be differences of ideas when we opt for non-directional or two-way hypothesis. Most of us are familiar with this model. Teachers reading aloud in class. That was a classroom we were exposed to when we were students. I don't know about the present condition. And we come and we just enact it in class. If it is Shakespeare, we use different modulations as teachers, and then sometimes we ask the students to take parts like role playing method, and then so most of the time the teacher's voice dominates in class. You can take this as a study too for your research. So what is the role of a teacher? That too we can work on that. So there are different types of learners we come across, and there are we have to observe different types of learners and keep that under our study. If you focus on learner-centric research, if you focus on ELL, English language learning, learner-centric research, then it will be helpful for you. So on the whole, you have to choose a variable. So there are different variable types, operationalization, which allows measurement. There are control variable, independent variable, dependent variable, intervening variable, and moderator variable. So it's up to the scholars to choose based on the topic they focus on. They can choose different variables and they can work towards analyzing the whatever respondents we are choosing. So this is the main area. How you're going to present your validity. Soon after the analysis, you have to present your validity. How you are going to do that? So there are content validity. You can focus on content validity too as a scholar, and face validity too. So when you choose your target audience, first you have to focus mainly on sampling. Based on the sampling, you can present your validity. Later I'll come back to sampling. That is most important. Sometimes if it is ethnographic study, you can present it in a general way, but you should not give any other sweeping statements or any other guessworks. You should not come up with any other guessworks at all. Approximately this is that. You have to come up with minute validation. That's more important. And these are all the validities you can use when you use a sample. There are participants validity, and then instrumentation validity, participants. So all these you can observe and present as a scholar. Now sampling. Sampling is the most important one. There are two different sampling. One is random sampling, the other one is non-random sampling. Under random sampling, there are three methods we can adopt. One is simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, and cluster random sampling. Under cluster random sampling, for example, if you're taking primary level learners, primary level, what are you going to focus on? Whether you're going to focus on their listening capacity or reading or writing and how they are speaking. So these are the four areas you can work on. These are the four areas you can choose any one of those areas. The listening capacity of the students or reading, how they are reading. And most of our Indian setup focus on writing. It is all our examination, everything based on our writing. So what you are going to do. So when you choose random sampling, for example, you're planning to work on a reading capability or writing capability of your readers, of your learners, then if it is simple random, you have to choose what level you are going to choose, whether it is primary level, secondary level, or tertiary level. These are the three levels we have to focus on. You have to choose only one area. If you are a research scholar, choose one area wherever you are comfortable. For that, you have to choose whether it is primary. You have to choose whether it is government schools, private school, or government aided schools. So there are different types. And you are focusing only one area alone. If it is, for example, if it is Trivandrum. Under Trivandrum, you have Palayam. You are focusing only Palayam. How many schools are here? For example, if it is secondary level or if it is tertiary level, how many colleges are there? Well, university college you have or any other private colleges you have. Take that. Under colleges too, you can go for arts and science colleges, engineering colleges. So how far they focus on English language? Engineering colleges only for 1 year. What do they do? Whether they do functional English, literature, or something. So these are all the things. So when it comes to sampling, if it is simple random, you have to specify clearly what you are going to do. Your target should be closed. It should be small. At the same time, it has to come with effective results. For example, if you focus only on 1 year of their study, what would you get? What would you get? The results. You won't get anything. At least you should focus on a decade, 10 years or 20 years. You'll get more. So for that 20 years, what are all the, then you can focus on methodology. You can focus on materials, how it was, how it is. Then after your research, how it will be. You have to present that. So that is more important. Stratified random sampling. So you have to stratify with a strategy. You have to stratify your random sampling. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. And cluster random sampling. Sometimes cluster, you should have the cluster model. Then you can use cluster random sampling. So when you use random sampling, you have to specify what sampling you are going to choose. Non-random sampling, you have systematic sampling, convenience sampling, purposive sampling. So you choose when it comes to sampling, that is more important. Then you can move on to the next level of your research. Then you have to provide reliability of your research. Rated reliability you can give, instrument reliability you can give. Under rated reliability, you can provide inter-rater reliability or intra-rater reliability. You can choose, you can provide both details. Under instrument reliability, you can give equivalence of forms and internal consistency, test, retest, and other things and all. And how you have to provide the details of how they were before the test given to them and how are your learners after the test given. You have to share both the statistical data. First, if it is quantitative and qualitative, already made a mention, first you have to provide whether it is quantitative or qualitative. Under quantitative, you should have purpose, design, approach, tools, sample, and analysis. Both quantitative and qualitative, they have all this. If it is quantitative, you have to study the relationship, cause, and effect of that. And design develop prior to the study. You have to provide the design develop prior to your research, to your study. And deductive and test theory you can use. You can use pre-selected instruments. You can use large samples here, 500 or 1000. Instead of taking 100 or something, you can focus on a large number of samples, and statistical analysis of numeric data you can provide. If it is qualitative, qualitative, it's really difficult to quantify. So sometimes you can do blended too, both qualitative and quantitative study. You can do blended and qualitative to examine the phenomena as it is, and it should be flexible, and it'll evolve during your study itself. It'll evolve, and the researcher is primary. Your would be the primary data collection tool. You can't provide other data provided by the other person, the earlier research and all. You have to provide your own tool and your own data collected through your sampling through your analysis. And you can use simple samples here, and it should be narrative. If it is quantitative, you have to narrate. For this quantitative research, you to narrate that, you need theories. Are you all familiar with theories? English language teaching theories? So you have to support your argument with theories. In that way, then you can make that as narrative description, and you can interpret that in your own word. So you might be wondering how I would do that. Is it like paraphrasing or something? So you can interpret it on your own, what you just like any other scientific practical examination. In our practical examination, usually we write it in our own words, what we have done practically. Like that, you can narrate it and interpret in your own words under that is qualitative method. So this is the difference between quantitative and qualitative. If it is quantitative, you have to provide all statistical method, data collection, and you can use the previous model. Whereas qualitative, you have to give your own analysis, your own whatever variables you collected, whatever data you collected, and then you have to explain with the support of theory, and describe that and interpret that in your own way. So these are the research types we have. Correlational research, experimental and quasi-experimental research. Experimental study, we have three different one. Counterbalancing, control group design, and comparison group design we have. Under the measuring the effect of treatment, we have repeated measures design, factorial design, time series design, on one-shot design. And under measuring effect of treatment, we have two different design to be explained. One is pre-test and post-test. Already I made a mention how they were before you begin your research, how they were. You give it a pre-test, and then you can come up with the post-test. How they are after you execute your test and other things. Once you have given, you should have some time period. If it is for a semester, if it is a college, if it is primary level or secondary level, you can take up quarterly level or half-yearly examination level or annual examination level. Annual 1 year you can take it up. How they were before that when they begin the school, and how they are after the execution of your methods or any other techniques or you employ to prove it is effective. So you have to go for this thing. And pre-test, sometimes you can stop with pre-test only. You can visibly see the result through your research. So there are two types. One is pre-test, post-test. The other one you can take pre-test. So now we can focus on how we are going to use this library and the other resources. What are all the resources we are going to use for our research? Um, Sometimes we use questionnaire method. Questionnaire method, getting answer to question by looking at what other people has said. So you have to finally present it in a proper way as a statistical through the statistical uh, presentation. So empirical research, conducting one's own investigation, that is called as empirical research, to collect data and you can draw conclusion through that. It is essential. Empirical research is essential because it provides empirical data on the particular topic you have chosen, and the results contribute to the field advancement, and it gives satisfaction to the scholar. So these are the research methodology and research methods you can think of. Research methodology is a discipline of studying how research done in that particular area scientifically. When I asked you what you mean by linguistics, it's scientific. So how scientifically you approach that. That is the research methodology you use. And then how it covers the various steps involved in your field of study. And you should start with the research problem. That is more important. When you have a problem, you have to come up after your analysis, you're going to give a solution. So you have to start with the research problem. Along with that, you have to justify the logic behind that research problem, whether it is whether you can prove that or not, and what are all the instruments you are going to use to validate that. That's more important, and how we are going to design that, and what are all the analytical methods you are going to use to collect the data involved in it, and what are all the techniques you are going to administer in that. That is called research methodology. Research methods, it's just part of a research methodology, research methods. Most of it, research methodology, you will specify everything and what are all the techniques you are going to use. That is called as research methods. Already I explained what it is, quantitative and qualitative. So these are the things you can look at. You can refer these books when you go to library, or if it is available online, you can refer that. That would provide more insights into English language teaching. I just shared my experience and with you. I hope I inspired all of you to take up English language teaching as your research area of study. Best wishes for that. And at the outset, I thank Professor Lal to have given this wonderful opportunity, and Professor Vishnu for the same, your head of the department, to have provided this uh, area for us to interact face to face and use this lab to interact online too. Thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. Now it's open for questions. If you have any questions, you can throw it. It's just a beginning. I just provided what are all the informations I had in mind. And if you have any other area, whatever I missed out, or if you have something in mind, feel free to open it up in this forum.